Chicago's woke mayor Brandon Johnson just got the worst news of his career. As it's shaping up by all accounts, the Bears are leaving Chicago. This is all a result of what a consistent dose of far-left woke Democrat policies get you. Businesses leaving, people leaving, and now sports franchises leaving too. And now it's not really a matter of if they will leave, but whether they will even stay in Illinois or move to Indiana. And so we got to break it all down. As always, if you enjoy the content, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know. Stay locked in with the future videos, subscribe, and make sure you hit all for your notifications. That way you never miss when I drop. Let's get right into it.
We have some new information tonight in the stadium battle for the Chicago Bears. While the city of Chicago wanted the Bears to be their end game, it has become clear keeping the team here is an uphill battle. NBC5's Natalie Martinez has new reaction tonight from the NFL commissioner on this stadium tug of war. Natalie.
Yeah, Allison, with no set deadline in place for the stadium project, there's now pressure from the top to get a deal done. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said tonight it's important for everyone to find a solution to the Chicago Bears' search for a new or revamped home soon.
As far as advancements in technology and advancements in the quality of the stadium for the fan experience, I would say it's not at the top of the list there.
The Bears CEO insists there's no hunger for a lakefront stadium rehab in Chicago.
We strongly believe the only site in the state of Illinois and Cook County is Arlington Heights. Yeah. Because when you see that property, having 326 acres, you know, right, with the train station there, the things that we would be able to do. There are some great sites. I mean, we talked a couple years ago about doing something at the museum, campus. There was not an appetite at that point in time there.
Mayor Brandon Johnson says his focus is keeping the Bears in the city of Chicago.
Clearly they had an appetite. Where things broke down was when the state of Illinois did not commit $850 million to that project.
It's that he said, she said that Indiana's governor is counting on for his state to get the Bears, adding at a BP Whiting refinery picket line that the Bears came to him after a 2.5-year conversation with Chicago and Illinois government was fruitless.
All we've tried to do is make it easy what it would be like dealing with a business partner like Indiana versus one they couldn't get to the table.
Soldier Field is the Park District's largest non-tax revenue source and venue, generating funds for parks and programming citywide. The Chicago Park District said in a statement in part, keeping the Bears in Chicago is a top priority for the city and the Chicago Park District, adding that it is focused on ensuring that policymakers understand the critical importance of a lakefront stadium to Chicago's tourism economy and to the Park District's finances.
Now Brandon Johnson is in denial, as if this doesn't have anything to do with the way he's governing the city of Chicago, but it does. When your policies are pushing out businesses in a major city like Chicago, and you keep doubling down on bad decisions, that damage is only going to compound. And on top of that, people don't want to be in an area where they got to constantly feel like they got to look over their shoulder because of crime. Chicago has all of that going on right now. And so let's go ahead and jump into this next clip where that reality starts to show, because how leadership runs things matters when we talk about these liberal cities that keep imploding. And that's exactly what you're going to hear echoed in this conversation with Kevin Warren, president and CEO of the Chicago Bears. Take a listen.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Indiana is ready to go with a new stadium. Illinois, it seems like, still has some work to do. What is your deadline for figuring out where the next Bears Stadium is going to be?
I think here's where we are. We have the legislation passed in Indiana, and they've been a great partner to work with. We are going through legitimate due diligence, and because we have working through traffic and construction items and transportation and all those different things. Now it's progressing right on pace. And Illinois, as you said, they're still working on legislation, and we have a wonderful piece of land in Arlington Heights, 326 acres, and so we don't have a set deadline, but I am confident that sometime this spring/summer we'll know. I mean, we have to know, because we would have completed the due diligence in Indiana, and we'll see what happens, in Illinois. And fortunately, the good thing about it, both of those sites are great locations because our focus is on our fans. I mean, you all see it. We have the greatest fans in. And not only in the NFL, but all of sports. I mean, and so what we have to do is to make sure we keep the North Star, and that is to build a world-class environment with a fixed roof that our fans can really enjoy, to make sure we have the proper ingress and egress and tailgating and parking and all those different accoutrements that great stadiums have, and then to be able to host events, the Final Four and the Super Bowl and concerts. And so I feel we're in a fantastic position. And I say this before, and people will go, "Are you telling the truth?" When you think about it, 107 years of Chicago Bears football, the Bears have never built a brand new stadium. I mean, they played in Wrigley till 71, and then Soldier Field from 72 on. They had a redo in early 2000, but they've never been able to build a new stadium. And you see what these stadiums have done: Minnesota, Las Vegas.
Sure.
I mean, here in Phoenix, it brings a heartbeat and a certain kind of vibrancy to that city. And of all cities that can use it and need it, is the Chicagoland area.
So Brandon Johnson can now add to his resume that he is the mayor who lost the Chicago Bears. Congratulations, which, along with all of his other epic missteps, will surely place him in the running for the country's worst mayor. At this point, the Bears remaining in Chicago is an afterthought because of what Chicago lacks and what Democrat leadership in the city has done to address the situation, which is very little. You heard them mention previously the stadium is the city's largest non-tax revenue source, generating funding for parks and programs across the entire city of Chicago. And so, what do you think will happen to that revenue source once the team leaves? Less revenue. But Democrats will be quick to say, let's tax corporations more, let's tax the rich even more, instead of capitalizing on creating additional revenue generating sources. Meanwhile, you have a Republican-run state of Indiana making moves. They on it. They understand that it's a long game when it comes to attracting a sports franchise to their state. Yeah, okay, tax breaks, we get it. That's obviously a thing. But the long-term return is what matters. More revenue generated from everything that gets built around it. The entire economic impact of existing businesses and the new businesses created as a result of having a professional franchise. And so when you look at it from that perspective, Chicago is essentially all up, they're out of it. That's what he's saying. They're not even in the running anymore. But let's continue.
I understand it, but I also am like old school.
Yes, right.
And you have some of those people.
And I saw your
out
comments,
there.
and I love those.
Well,
You're right.
Okay, because I grew up watching my dad get his butt kicked by the '85 Bears out in the cold elements. I mean, watching the Rams game in the snow and all that. Yeah. I mean, that's picturesque to me. Yeah. That to me is Bears football. So how do you struggle with that part of it, knowing like, hey, some of our fans do like that, but yet all the other things you just said are, of course, pretty awesome to go along with it?
Yeah, and I think a couple things is, the evolution of the fan, and I think about it constantly, is something that's top of mind.
Yeah.
And, the cost to go to a game is incredibly expensive. And especially in the NFL, our focus, especially at the Chicago Bears, has to be, this almost becomes like a college football bowl game. Every home game needs to have that impact and magnitude. And so to be able to do that, you need the environment, for those reasons.
Sure.
And the interesting about both of our sites, where you see Soldier Field fits, obviously Arlington Heights, and even Hammond in Northwest Indiana, both of those are in our home marketing area. Right. They're in that, 75 mile radius of the Soldier Field in Chicago.
Yeah.
So the good thing about it, I mean, right now Hammond is part of the Chicagoland, area that we market. But I think when our fans, and they've seen glimpses of it, when they get a chance to really enjoy, what this new wave of stadium has become.
Yeah.
And you think about it, even presentations we had here yesterday, the number of stadiums that are on site in Washington and in Cleveland and, Kansas City and Denver and all these different places. it really will bring these next 30 to 40 years in the NFL. We need to be part of it.
Yeah. Is there any chance that as you work through Hammond versus Arlington Heights and it comes to a head, is there any chance the clouds are going to part and the solution is going to be your new stadium in Chicago, downtown, lakefront?
And that's a great question, but we strongly believe the only site in the state of Illinois and Cook County is Arlington Heights.
There you have it. And it's a shame too, because I visited Chicago and it's a very nice city, great architecture. We talk about the buildings, great food, but you can't outrun bad leadership. And Brandon Johnson and Democrats continue to show that if you give them enough time, they will take whatever is working, whatever is good, and mess it up. It's only getting worse these days because Democrats are embracing these progressive policies that discourage business growth because they're too busy punishing success. And what smart business is going to stick around for that? But let's continue.
Yeah. Because when you see that property having 326 acres, you know, with the train station there, the things that we would be able to do, there are some great sites. I mean, we talked a couple years ago about doing something at the museum, you know, campus. There was not an appetite at that point in time there. And there's some other sites that just don't fit. And it's imperative, and learning this over the years, that you want to make sure that you have an opportunity to do a surrounding mixed use development wherever you build your stadium. And so you got to have that space to be able to do it. And the biggest thing is that ingress and egress, tailgating, you know, to provide game day experience. You have to be able to do. And now, you know, these stadiums have become a 365 day a year. So from concerts, you look, Indianapolis is hosting the Final Four here in a couple of weeks. So it just affords us an opportunity, especially being in Chicago land area that is centrally located.
And so unfortunately, for the city of Chicago, they're cooked. Until they start to realize that the people they keep electing and putting in charge are the driving force behind why the city is collapsing, this will keep happening. When you decide to believe the lies that Democrats feed you, we'll tax the rich. That's how we'll pay for it. We'll make them pay for our government programs, and it's going to make your life easier. We guarantee it. That's what they want you to believe. That's what's happening when people go along with it instead of realizing they're being sold something that can't actually be delivered. It works during elections because they're saying what people want to hear, but it's not reality. And so now Brandon Johnson is the mayor who lost the Chicago Bears. But this is what happens. They sell a fantasy, and then the middle class is the one who suffers because they end up fronting the bill. When businesses and the people Democrats thought they could tax to oblivion start to leave. And we keep seeing this happen over and over and over again across the country in different liberal cities. But those are my thoughts in the update. Now let me hear from you. Drop your comments down below. As always, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know if you enjoy the content. Subscribe to stay locked in with the future videos. And as always, until next time.